Well, welcome back, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
I see our Brummbar has arrived, and you're about to start painting the base coats and everything. And mission model paints. I mean, it's fantastic. As you know, I paint with Tamiya, but it's great that you're going to use those.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've always been a big fan of the Tamiya paints, and they're really still my go-to paints. But the product that these guys at Mission Models have come out with is pretty compelling. So I've used it on another model. This will be the second one that I've used the paints on, and they work fantastic. They have a great range of colors, and they're as far as I can tell, they're very accurate. Some of the most accurate colors out there.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about some of them specifically in the upcoming video. And they're non-toxic.
And user-friendly. Like they're very green almost, aren't they? It's like a green paint.
It is, and it's the problem with the Tamiya paints is usually I thin them with the self-leveling thinner, and that's pretty harsh stuff. So when you're spraying that in confined areas, I always have to wear a mask. I really do need to get an extractor set up in my workbench. I don't have one yet. I need to do that. But with these guys, because they're not toxic, it's a little bit less of a concern. I'll still wear a mask, usually just because of the particles in the air, but in terms of the odor and whatnot, it's very easy.
Yeah, and I think those are modelers at home that have cats or dogs or parrots or whatever.
Yeah, or kids or children.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect them at all either.
No. So it's
children especially.
Yeah, so it's a very relatively environmentally friendly as far as the hobby goes, and very easy to use. Nice, you get dispensers. Every bottle there's a ball bearing in it to help shape things up, and you can operate it with one hand, pop it open, and it's like a little bit of a squeeze ball, so you can squeeze it into your airbrush cup or into your mixing cup, whatever you happen to be using there. So very easy to do. Doesn't help with clumsiness, unfortunately, but
no matter what, it was going to spill all over the place.
But very good. And then you do have to use absolutely have to use their products to thin. So we have to use their thinner. And there's another additive that they have. It's called a Polyurethane Mix Additive. And as far as I can tell, what this does, and it's a little bit thicker. So you'll see when when you go into the details of painting it, you'll see more of a detailed demo. But this actually does two things. I think one is it makes the paint adhere, and it strengthens the paint, so it's a much more durable finish, so it will stand up better to any subsequent weathering that you might be doing to it. And secondly, and in my mind, more importantly, it seems to have a leveling effect as well. So all of the
retarder.
Yeah, exactly. So all of the things that I really love the leveling thinner from Gunzi, what it does to the Tamiya, the Gunzi paints, or even the Vallejo acrylic, vinyl acrylic paints. This does to the MMP paints here. So. Great, yeah. So it's a great product. The ratios that they give, I find, don't quite work for me. So I'll kind of go over the ratios that I use. I like to spray a lot thinner than what they recommend.
I think that's typical of Southern Ontario modelers.
Yeah, it seems to be.
We thin stuff down a lot.
Yeah. So it's great paint and a great product. And I was very, like most modelers, you have such an investment in I had all of the Vallejo paints and the big paints, the Tamiya paints, the Gunzi paints. So I was a little bit hesitant on making a further investment in these guys. But in terms of the range of color offering and the fact that it's it's a lot easier to use, a lot cleaner, not as tough on the senses, as it were. I'm glad I did. And when they, there's a couple of aircraft I want to do in my near future, and they're going to come out.
Yeah, they've come out with the aircraft colors.
So I'm dying to try those on.
I
my
think
Tamiya Messerschmitt.
Moving forward too, I think there's going to be automobile colors and that sort of thing, trains and
so they seem to be going all out.
Yeah, they're growing in a very short time. They're becoming quite the leaders in North America with paint. Well, have fun. I'm going to talk briefly about some upcoming shows here in Ontario. Heritage Con is a fantastic show.
I love that show. One of my favorites of the year, if not my favorite.
I think it's the venue. I mean, the venue is amazing. Like it's in a World War II airplane hangar full
Yeah.
of World War II 1-to-1 scale airplanes,
Yeah,
including a Lancaster.
in terms of a venue, you can't beat it. It's what a great setting for that, and it's it kicks off the round of shows here in Southern Ontario for the year, and it's a great way to get everything started.
Yeah, and they've always brought in guest speakers. This year, Brett Green's coming from Australia, but they've had Macon, they've had Adam Wilder. And they're very inexpensive clinics to take. Usually, 100 people are there, but they show them up on the video.
Yeah.
So they're easy. The seating is great for that, and the visuals are great. So that's coming up in towards the end of March, March 25th. Barry Newmer, I think. I mean, just to see his thing, he comes up all the way from Pittsburgh to.
Yeah. He brings his 72nd scale mesh instruments with him, and just stunning builds.
It's great when these modelers, regardless of the prizes at the end of the day, and sometimes because a wheel is not sitting on track properly or some weird thing, not all models win prizes, but as you and I have studied this for years, it's not that important. It's seeing the models on the table and talking to Barry and talking to Tony Bell and all these characters in common that we've read about in magazines.
And John Bonanni is another Pittsburgh area modeler, comes up, does a lot of military stuff, gets published a lot. He's a fantastic modeler, great guy too. So it's nice. They actually have, funny enough, they have their show on the Saturday. So the Heritage Con in Hamilton is on the Sunday. They have their show on the Saturday. I think a few of us are thinking about doing both.
Right.
Yeah, they came up and did the show last year. So we're thinking about maybe returning the favor, going down, supporting them, and entering in, and then seeing them back in Hamilton on the Sunday. So
yeah,
it's fun weekend.
Fantastic. And as far as quantity of models, I mean, I don't think they've touched 700 models yet, but it's certainly scratching that sort of number. So, and sometimes it's dependent on the weather. They haven't been hit with a snowstorm or anything yet that late in March. So
yeah, it should be okay. But you're right though. If the weather isn't cooperating, then it might curb the attendance. But generally, that time of year we should be out of it, I think.
Yeah, and then moving into the end of May, close to June, 26th of May. For all of you out there who have visited Torcan has been a show that's been around since the late 70s. They took about a 5-year downtime, I think, just to recharge their batteries. But this is the latest Torcan, and certainly another great spring show that is well received, in the neighborhood of 700 models, and all the guys once again, they get their feet wet with Hamilton. They pick up a kit at the vendors, because both of these shows have fantastic vendors.
Yeah.
You pick up a plastic model at Hamilton in the vending room and quickly build it up and bring it to Torcan. It's just a great spring here in Ontario.
And this is on the American. I think it's on the American Memorial Day weekend. So hopefully we'll get some folks up from the U.S. to come, and they have one of the. I think it's fair to mention, they have one of the best vendor room setups I've seen. So they have like a separate area, large. So it's a rink.
Yeah, I think they're
an ice rink that they
have 50 vendors.
Yeah, and there's lots of tables, lots of vendors, and there's lots of room to move around. So it's some of these other shows that are a little bit more constrained, trying to get to the vendor tables, you're kind of bumping bodies and whatnot. But here, lots of room to move around. So it's
So
really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so those of you who are in the neighborhood, say within, I think from Buffalo, Hamilton. For the Hamilton show, what is it, about less than an hour's drive, isn't it? Give or take?
Yeah, depending on the border. Yeah, maybe an hour and change with the border crossing. But yeah, if everything goes well, you're probably just an hour or so.
So I mean, if Buffalo would be your place to start off from, to head into Canada. Make sure you have a passport for those Americans who might be visiting. Your passport has to be up to date, but cross at Buffalo, and it's just an hour up the highway for the Hamilton show, and then the Torcan show is in Toronto, and basically in the Toronto neighborhood. So
northwest of Toronto.
Yeah, so about an hour and a half's drive from Buffalo.
Yeah,
so but I'll let you, Dave, get started painting your Brummbar talking about the pre-shading and what have you, and we'll get back to you shortly.
Sounds
So
good.
thanks for coming, and
I look forward to it.
It's
Thank
going
you.
to be a great spring of painting, and the Brummbar on one class, and the King Tiger moving ahead with its Zimmerit and battle damage on the other. And Dave and I have talked about we're gonna try very hard not to duplicate say the things that were done on the Sherman or on my Panther about a year ago. We're gonna do things like I say a little different, just to mix it up a little
make sure
bit.
we're not repeating the same things.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
all right, Dave, we'll take it away.
Thank
It's
you.
gonna be grand.
Yeah, it's still winter here, but spring is in the air.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Dave.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dave.
Thank you.